Well, Happy New Year, everyone. It's January 2nd, and it's cold after quite a warm spell last week. Now it's cold again. In this first Mosey of 2025, we'll talk about tree and shrub architecture, the branching habit, and the form of trees and shrubs. We'll start with one of my favorites right here in front of the lodge. This is pagoda dogwood. Categorized either as a small-scale tree or large-scale shrub. Often multiple stem. This one is single stem, so it looks more like a tree. But it's called pagoda dogwood because of the pagoda-like branching habit, these distinct layers of branches, like a pagoda. And it's one of those deciduous plants that I've always felt, although it's fabulous every day of the year, it always looks better in winter than it does in the growing season because you can really appreciate this wonderful branching habit. White flower, clusters of white flowers in spring, clusters of bluish berries later in the season that the birds take right away. Very nice fall color, maroon fall color, but I've always felt that its architecture is its greatest feature. Pagoda dogwood. At the bottom of the lodge meadow, of course, are the three pines, probably the most famous trees at the clearing. I've always felt that white pines, well, other pines too, but true pines, as opposed to spruce and firs and hemlocks and things, true pines, especially white pine, they just get more interesting and have more character with age. That's certainly true of the three pines at the bottom of the meadow here. They're probably much older than they appear. They're down on very thin soil, so they grow very slowly, like everything does down there. They've been there for certainly 150 years, I'm guessing. But where a spruce or a fir, as they start to lose branches, they kind of lose a lot of aesthetic interest. Pines get more interesting with age. So even though those are holding quite a few dead branches, they have so much character. So pines age very gracefully. And again, those three pines at the bottom of the meadow, they're probably the most photographed, painted, drawn, written about features on the clearing property, the three pines. This is the clearing's hawthorn tree. It's the one, well, there's another small one up at the Jensen Center, but this is the only one down here. Planted by Jensen, we're almost positive. So it's an old tree. Hawthorns can live for a long time. This particular species is a dotted hawthorn. There are quite a few different hawthorn species. Not native to Door County, at least not this far north in Door County. But that has been gracing the south edge of the lodge meadow since Jensen's time. It had gotten overgrown in there over many years, and just the last few years we've taken some arborvitae out of there, opened that up more so it's healthier, but also more visible. And you can see that classic, on most hawthorn species, they have a very horizontal branching habit, often wider than tall, and that's the case here. So that is a famous tree at the clearing, Jensen's hawthorn. And that's, of course, the hawthorn is the clearing's logo. That's a hawthorn tree. So the hawthorn at the clearing. I've always felt that the most valuable natural feature at the clearing was the arborvitae, also called white cedar, growing right along the edge of the escarpment. In part because they are so old a tree like that could easily be 500 years old. And we must have some along the edge of it, maybe approaching 1,000 years old. But they also have so much character. Their architecture is so interesting. Uh, nice bark also. The bark starts to peel off. But just the way it branches and holds those branches for hundreds of years makes them so interesting to look at. And they look great from up here. And you get down on the beach, they look great from down there too. Some of them lean way over and arch back up. But that's a good example of how beautiful the arborvitae along the escarpment can be. This is one of my favorite sugar maples at the clearing, not a big old one, but when they're open grown like this, they have this classic kind of oval, very regular shaped crown. They're just a beautiful form. This one happens to take on really nice fall color. Sugar maples that are grown in the forest, aren't shaped like this. They have a much more irregular branching habit, as trees do in the forest. But these open grown ones have this classic oval shape. And it's been fun watching this one grow over 25 years. And again, the fall color can be really great on this particular sugar maple. And I usually use it as a gauge to how good the fall color is any given year. But young, probably a 30, 40-year-old sugar maple. Tall evergreen back there, the tallest tree, is a balsam fir. And balsam fir have great architecture. They're always very narrow. They look almost like a church steeple. And as you get closer to the top, especially at the very top, they become very narrow and very dense. And they stick out above the tree line all over Door County. That one's right behind the Jensen Center. I think it's the best one, tallest one on the property. We've always been tempted to put lights on it for Christmas, but Eric doesn't want to crawl up that tall. But it's a beauty. It's a perfect tree. And again, that wonderful, dense, church steeple-like top. Here's one of my very favorite plants. This is leatherwood, the classic understory shrub in Door County, especially northern Door County. Doesn't get usually much taller than 6 or 7 feet, maybe about that wide. Often, more often than not, it just has a single stem, but sometimes multiple stems, which adds interest. But it's really a plant that I love it in all seasons, but it really comes into its own after the leaves fall off. So for 6 or 7 months, you can really appreciate the branching habit. Very open, kind of coarse textured, not twiggy like a lot of shrubs are. This has this great branching habit and shape. It's called leatherwood because the branches are so pliable, you can almost tie them in a knot. And it has pretty little yellow flowers early in spring before it leaves out, so they're showy. Little greenish white fruits in early summer that the birds take right away. Fall color can be a nice yellow, but really it comes into its own in the winter season when you can really appreciate the architecture and the branching habit. Leatherwood.